Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather follows the trials and tribulations of Don Vito Corleone, the head of the most powerful of the 5 New York crime families. Don Corleone faces treachery and opposition from his adversaries, in addition to having to rein in a hot-tempered protege in Sonny Corleone, mitigate a disappointment of a son in Fredo, and reconcile a broken relationship with his estranged son, Michael. There is something in The Godfather for everyone to relate to. Maybe you're in an abusive marriage with no one to help you. Maybe you're a second-generation immigrant struggling with identity. Or maybe you're just a gangster who keeps getting asked favors on your daughter's wedding day. Deep, richly layered and multifaceted, The Godfather is a staple of cinema and a stone-cold classic. No top 10 movie list is complete without it, and decades later it remains as impactful as when it first hit cinema screens in 1972. Something that audiences have noticed over the years is the movie's use of oranges. Not the colour, but quite literally, the constant use of the fruit in the foreground or background of scenes. Oranges appear all throughout the film, and once you become aware of this, you can't stop seeing them. This is also a phenomenon that has been extended to the movie's 2 sequels. It's one of the most popular pieces of trivia in pop culture regarding The Godfather, that oranges appear all over the film, but it seems to be consensus among film fans that the placement of oranges aren't random, but they are actually in the film as a foreshadowing device, signifying a bad omen, signifying to us that a death or a near death is approaching, an announcement of impending doom. The oranges signifying an upcoming calamity is a phenomenon similar to many other films, such as Martin Scorsese's uses of X's in The Departed in anticipation of character deaths, which was intentional and a homage to the 1932 film Scarface. There are numerous uses of oranges in The Godfather. Some examples include Tessio holding one during Connie's wedding, some oranges on the table when Tom Hagen and the Hollywood producer talk. Vito buys some before he is shot. There is one in front of Barzini during the meeting between the 5 families, and Vito, in his death scene, even puts one in his mouth. In the second film, Don Fanucci walks around with an orange. Young Vito buys an orange in one scene. Johnny Ola brings Michael an orange from Hyman Roth. There's a fruit bowl in the Cuba conference which has an orange, and like how Vito puts one in his mouth which signals his death, at the end of the second film, Michael bites into an orange, perhaps signifying the death of his humanity as he is about to have his own brother killed. The third film is chock full of orange use as well. Michael's lawyer is served orange juice, Al Neri eats an orange in one scene, Michael's nephew Vincent holds one during a meeting, and Michael drops an orange in the final scene of the saga where he dies. You could also point to uses of the colour orange, as opposed to the fruit, such as the fact that Carlo is wearing orange clothes when he is beaten up by Sonny. In total, an article on Destination Hollywood identifies 22 scenes throughout this trilogy in which oranges are used, and that's a lot. But here's the thing, it's never quite sat well with me, this idea of oranges symbolizing death, that whenever you see an orange in the film, someone's going to die or have a near-death experience. Because the thing is, it might be a popular theory that seems to have cemented itself as now fact, but it doesn't really work. It feels flimsy and a stretch in many places. For example, Tessio at the wedding. What exactly is being symbolized here? The wedding is one of the few truly happy moments in the film. Nobody dies or comes close to dying. You could argue that it's the film showing us this early on that Tessio will become a traitor, but that's so far away in the film that that's a bit of a stretch. There's many instances where it does work, of course, like Vito buying some oranges before some goons try to kill him, and there being one on the table during the meeting between Tom and the producer, suggesting something bad is about to happen to the producer, which of course it does. But the thing is, there are bad things that happen throughout the film, and there are so many uses of oranges that you could easily link an instance of an orange to a random bad event and make it work, make the symbolism work, which makes the whole theory, as I said, kind of flimsy. And then on the flip side, there's many deaths and near deaths in the film that have oranges nowhere near them, like when Apollonina dies, when Paulie dies, when Sollozzo dies, or during the 5 family hit. Maybe someone wants to propose a theory linking these non-orange deaths together and why they differ from the rest of the deaths, but each theory is as speculative as the next. So it got me thinking and made me start to wonder whether the uses of oranges in the film were intentional or whether it was just a coincidence, a random thing that over time people noticed and then attributed meaning to. I don't remember oranges being mentioned in any significant fashion in the book, for example. And it appears this phenomenon was actually random. Oranges don't signify death, near death, or anything really, at least not in the first film. According to sources, Francis Ford Coppola has said on a DVD commentary, "It started out as an accident, but once we realized we had used oranges so frequently in the first movie, we used them purposefully in the others." Also, in his book on the making of the film, The Godfather Legacy, Harlan Lebo says, talking about the movie's production designer, "For Dean Tavoularis, oranges were simply another carefully chosen complement to otherwise somberly dressed sets. We knew this film wasn't going to be about bright colours, and oranges make a nice contrast," said Tavoularis. "I don't remember anybody saying, 'Hey, I like oranges,' as a symbolic message." So it appears oranges were used a lot intentionally, but that was only because they made a nice contrast to the dark and moody way the film was lit and shot. It was intentional, but for practical reasons, and it didn't have anything to do with symbolizing death, which makes a lot of sense to me, as this theory never quite 100% worked for me. And what Coppola said about using oranges purposefully in the sequels makes sense too, as the uses in the second film in particular seem very intentional. The movie draws attention to the one Johnny Ola gives to Michael, and the foreshadowing there is almost too on the nose in hindsight, as if you're on the lookout for oranges, this may be the clue that you needed to work out it was Roth behind the failed Michael assassination. Maybe that's how Michael worked it out, because he's seen the first film. The Finucci one as well, as if I remember correctly, it takes place shortly before his death, and Michael biting into the orange at the end of the film surely spells out that something bad is about to go down. The third film has about 9 uses, the most of the trilogy. Now, just because Coppola says the uses of oranges was incidental in the first film, that doesn't mean you still can't accept the oranges equals doom theory. A filmmaker's intentions, one could argue, are defunct once the film is released, and the audience can have their own interpretation. For example, the idea that the climax of Taxi Driver was a dream or fantasy, that it was all in Travis Bickle's head, was completely new to director Martin Scorsese. It was put to him during the film's DVD commentary, and he had never thought about it before, in spite of it being a popular theory. So if the orange thing floats your boat, cool. Plus, even if you're not completely on board, like me, the theory that oranges represents doom still works, given that the oranges are all over the film. If oranges are danger and oranges are everywhere, it further symbolizes that in the world of The Godfather, death and imminent danger is everywhere. So what do you think of the orange theory? Let me know in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching. Before we finish, I just want to thank my patrons, Andre Millington, Nicholas Curtis and Dirk K, and also my channel members, the new on Goam24, Rikers and Michael Awatwi.